So I was laid off from work today, and it's a lot.
Okay, so this is hilarious. I just saw this white lady on here complaining that she just lost her job because she was hired under the diversity, equity, and inclusion program at her work. And you can see she didn't want to say it, but she really wanted to be like, but I'm not black. But that's not what diversity, equity, inclusion meant. The #1 recipient of DEI hires is white women.
Is there anyone out there who can give me one benefit of the DEI movement?
I got you, and you can fact check me on this.
One benefit.
Therapy for veterans, so there's one for you.
One benefit.
Mother's rooms, so when you're a fresh mother and you have to pump your breast for your children.
Give me one benefit.
The real F around and find out moment is here.
One of the lesser known, most common recipients of DEI is white Republicans. A lot of you seem to think that DEI is just for minorities and didn't realize that you were also a minority as well.
The fact that a lot of white women thought that DEI meant minority or black people, that it didn't include them, is the funniest thing to me. Because white women are DEI hires majority of the time. They benefit from DEI initiatives.
I do find it quite interesting that it took for Donald Trump to be president for a second term for people, especially white women, to understand that DEI never meant black.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're all doing well. FAFO season is in full swing, and this time MAGA white women are finally realizing that DEI wasn't just about minorities and black people. It was about them too. They cheered when companies started slashing diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, thinking that it was all about keeping black folks and other minorities out. But now they are the ones that are getting hit with the layoffs and struggling to stay afloat in their finances. Well, they are looking around like, what just happened? Sis, you F around and now you find out. Let's get into it. If you're new to the channel, kindly consider subscribing, like the video, drop me a comment. I'll be back with more commentary.
Okay, so this is hilarious. I just saw this white lady on here complaining that she just lost her job because she was hired under the diversity, equity, and inclusion program at her work. And you can see she didn't want to say it, but she really wanted to be like, but I'm not black. But that's not what diversity, equity, inclusion meant. The #1 recipient of DEI hires is white women. The #1 people who have benefited the most from this whole affirmative action and DEI hired has been white women, 100%. And now all these white women who voted for Donald Trump are going to find out that DEI included them. And I'm sorry, but this is one of the best fuck around and find out moments yet, because these women are the ones who deserve to be fired. I'm sorry, like, if you voted for Donald Trump and you get fired because you were a DEI hire, don't come looking to me for sympathy.
The fact that a lot of white women thought that DEI meant minority or black people, that it didn't include them, is the funniest thing to me. Because white women are DEI hires majority of the time. They benefit from DEI initiatives. So the fact that you would vote against your own interests and then get upset that this is happening to you is just like hilarious to me. What do you mean you didn't realize that you were the diversity hire? Like, you're a woman and you think that you have an equal playing field in this game as a white man? The fact that we have this program set in place stops companies from discriminating against you based off your gender. So I just don't understand why you would think that, oh my God, I'm in the same playing field as a white man, because you never will be. You actively voted against your rights to appease white men, and you're going to pay the consequences for that. DEI does not just mean black people. As a white woman, that also affects you.
Is there anyone out there who can give me one benefit of the DEI movement?
I got you, and you can fact check me on this.
One benefit.
Therapy for veterans, so there's one for you.
One benefit.
Mother's rooms, so when you're a fresh mother and you have to pump your breast for your children.
Give me one benefit.
Paid caregiver leave. So when a family member is about to pass away and your company says, go home, we'll pay you while you see them away.
Give me one benefit.
Paternity leave. So when you're an expectant parent, you can actually spend time with your newborn.
You can give me one benefit.
Disable accessible places and spaces. So think like elevators, wheelchair ramps, handicap stalls in a bathroom, even ergonomic like displays and setups for somebody who might not be able to do day-to-day activities. I have a friend who lost most of the use to his hands and his job requires him to type. So there's a screen program that clocks his eyes and goes to where he needs. So there's an example.
Diversity, equity, and inclusion is racist.
I do find it quite interesting that it took for Donald Trump to be president for a second term for people, especially white women, to understand that DEI never meant black. It literally was a program that means diversity, equity, inclusion. That's what DEI means. And the people who benefited the most off of DEI initiatives were not black people. They were white women, Asians, at some points Latinx community, and the queer community at times. But usually if you're white and queer, not if you're of color and queer. And when I got into working with DEI programs at my last organization, I did it because I saw the numbers and I saw that people who look like me, especially black women, were benefiting the least from these programs. And newsflash, every opportunity that I ever got, I didn't get it because I was black. I got it because I was better than the other candidate and I had merit. I'm an educated black woman. So good luck, you guys.
So DEI is about that and about providing services for workers. It's not about the color of a person's skin.
And it's not a quota program. Let's just be clear. It
Absolutely.
means that, not, and it also, I think, for a lot of conservatives, they believe DEI just means black people getting jobs. And so when they see a black person in any job, they say, oh, that person's a DEIer. They said it about the literal elected vice president of the United States.
Absolutely.
She wasn't hired. She was hired by the American people. 80 million Americans voted for her, but they can't see through her race and gender. So it isn't just about hiring black people and women, right? It's about disabled veterans being accommodated. It's veterans returning from wars are also under DEI.
Absolutely. And I see that as a veteran myself, right? Mm-hmm. I see this initiative as a direct impact and attack on veterans. Of the 2.2 million federal workers, 642,000 of those are veterans. And so this is, in my way of viewing this, is a direct attack against veterans as well. The misunderstanding of what DEI really is, it's on us to really educate the public as to what it really is all about.
Many were surprised when they found out or realized that veterans fall under DEI. But let me share with you all the other categories that fall under DEI that are no longer protected. All right, the first category, neurodiversity. This category covered or protected individuals with autism, ADHD, dyslexia, or other neurological conditions. Socioeconomic status, essentially community members from low-income areas. The one we've spoken about was veterans. That one also is falls under that, as well as active duty military spouses. Yes, my dependents, you fall under a category. And you are no longer protected by the DEI. Parental and caregiver inclusion, which means that they do not give a shit about you having to go take care of your child. No more flexible working schedule, no more nothing. Age diversity, they are going to be able to discriminate you if you're too young or if you're too old. Religious and spiritual practices. Oh, you gotta go pray? You're fired. You're no longer protected. Oh, it's a holiday for you? Don't care. You need to show up to work. None of this is protected anymore. Language. How many of us speak a different language and usually find a coworker that speaks it too and you're over there just chatting away? Yeah, you're no longer protected. And lastly, body diversity. You can now be discriminated by the size of your body, by what you look like.
One of the lesser known, most common recipients of DEI is white Republicans. Before you get your panties in a twist, let me explain. As I'm sure you know, the majority of rural Americans vote Republican. And I can tell you this with certainty right now, the biggest state schools in whatever state you reside in have initiatives that give priority to rural students. The vast majority of students that benefit from those initiatives are white. You don't have to sign up for these programs. It's based off of your address and the county that you live in. Students that are from these counties are also likely receiving a lot more financial aid than the average student. And if you live in a state that has Appalachian counties, just go ahead and double that. This doesn't just apply to undergraduate institutions. A lot of medical schools do this as well. There's a huge need for people to practice rural medicine, and if you come from a rural county, you're more likely to stay in the area and practice medicine. So they give huge priority to students that are from rural counties. And again, if you're in a state that has Appalachian counties, they're prioritizing that too. The unfortunate reality is that most of these students don't even realize that they are the benefactors of DEI. And so when new students come to apply that come from these rural and or Appalachian counties, they're not going to get to benefit from those same initiatives. And it'll be too late. A lot of you seem to think that DEI is just for minorities and didn't realize that you were also a minority as well.
Applying to all these different jobs and programs and schools throughout my life, I've always gotten into everything I've applied for. And, well, if DEI is really a problem, then why hasn't it stopped me from being able to attain the goals that I've set forth for myself? Perhaps those of you who blame DEI for your problems, it's really just something within yourself. Maybe you don't have the merit that you need for something, and that's okay. It doesn't mean that you're the lowest of the low or nothing like that. You can get better, but you can't get better if you just keep blaming other people, which kind of seems like what they're trying to get us to do, huh? If you have better thoughts about it than me, let me know, though.
This post reads, veterans didn't know they were DEI hires because everyone thinks DEI means black. And this is the same thing that happened with affirmative action, because white women benefited the most from affirmative action, but got mad because they thought that people of color, black people, were getting admitted to college in place of them and didn't deserve to be. And the reason that the propaganda around affirmative action and diversity, equity, inclusion has worked this way is because of racism. And at a certain point, you have to realize that a lot of these people are grown adults who have the ability to look stuff up. Most of these veterans who do vote, most of these people getting into colleges who do vote, have the ability to look up what these actually are instead of listening to a charismatic man on a stage tell them what it means. And again, the reason that the propaganda works is because of the racism.
The real F around and find out moment is here. A lot of people are looking at the black community thinking that we are the recipients and benefactors of DEI programs and affirmative action programs. And I know affirmative action is no longer, but whenever they hear the term DEI or they hear the term affirmative action, they look to the black community thinking that we are the benefactor. Now, here's some information for you. The #1 recipient of DEI are white women. That is according to the U.S. Department of Labor. And others fall under that group, under the minority group, the ethnic minority. #1 recipient under that group are Latino and Hispanic Americans. #2 are Asian Americans. #3 are Native Americans. #4, individuals with disability. #5, veterans. Okay? And #6, the LGBTQ plus community. And guess who comes last at receiving DEI benefits? Guess who comes last? That's right. Black Americans. Black people. Let me also say, you can do a Google search and you will see the primary benefactors of DEI programs are not only white women, but white men, white male CEOs. those are the ones who have benefited the most from DEI initiative programs.
Alright y'all, there you have it actually. A lot of white folks, as we have seen in the videos, thought DEI was just about race. In the past few years, we have seen a massive push to dismantle DEI. Diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives and programs fueled by conservative think tanks, Republican politicians, and a whole lot of MAGA energy. They made DEI the villain, convincing a lot of their followers that this was just some woke nonsense designed to help black people, Latinos, and other minorities steal jobs and opportunities. And sadly enough, a lot of white women bought into it, thinking that as long as they weren't part of the higher crowd, they would be safe. But what they didn't realize is that DEI was also doing some heavy lifting for them, because DEI was actually protecting a lot of white women too. And here's where they messed up. DEI was never just about race. It was about gender equity, workplace protections, and fair hiring practices. And guys, do we know who's been benefiting from that for decades? Yeah, you got it right. White women. Because if we think about it, in affirmative actions, women were some of the most and the biggest beneficiaries of this, because they got equal pay initiatives, and DEI was pushing to actually protect a lot of these, protecting them from any kind of workplace harassment and discriminations because of their gender. DEI was actually protecting you from being considered inferior to your compatriot white men. So DEI was actually beneficial for white people as much as it was for other communities. But as soon as they had diversity, they assumed that it meant everyone else except them. Now they are realizing a little bit too late that they were also beneficiaries of these DEI programs and initiatives. So now that they are realizing a little bit too late that DEI was actually protecting a lot of them in workplaces, in corporations, they're being actually hit with mass layoffs. We have seen a lot of them come here online, on YouTube, on TikTok, crying about how they did not realize that DEI also protected their jobs and them from being discriminated, because now nothing holds these companies and corporations from doing mass layoffs of white women, because they are the most vulnerable here. Before, when you had DEI, no company or corporation will just consider laying off people just because they were women. Now, a lot of you voted for the orange man in church. You effed around and now you're finding out. And as he has said in his speeches, that America is gonna become a merit-based society, a merit-based nation. Now you have to earn that position that you actually got because of DEI initiatives and programs. You know, I saw a video where someone was actually explaining what DEI meant. If we have a tall person and a short person and they're looking over the wall, you know, you cannot give them the same stool to stand on and look over the wall or past the wall. You'll have to give, you know, a little bit of a short stool for the tall man or for the tall woman, but you cannot consider the same type of stool for the short man. So you'll have to give them a little bit of a higher stool for them to have the same opportunity of seeing over the wall as the tall man has. That's what DEI has been actually doing, leveling the playing field for many people, especially women. And white women have been beneficiaries of DEI more than black people have, more than minorities, more than Latinos, as we have seen and heard in these videos that I've compiled for you from people explaining this. You can Google that and make sure of it. So this is actually the ultimate FAFO moment. You F around, now you're finding out. You thought it was all about race, and because you did not want other races to benefit, you voted against your own interest. You voted against something that actually was benefiting you more than it was benefiting other races. Let me know your opinions in the comment section below. Thank you very much for watching this far. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. As always, guys, see you on the next episode.